Perfect.
Awesome. So, hey everybody, it's Clifton Savage, your good and faithful business coach. Welcome to our first live Q&A. So we're figuring things out a little bit as we go along, but it's going to be great. It's through Zoom, which is a great platform. But anyways, this is awesome to finally have our first live Q&A. Real quick, I'm Clifton Savage, the good and faithful business coach, and this is Erin Isaacson of Pacific Crest Digital Solutions.
Hi.
So the live Q&A is an awesome opportunity that I get to interview wonderful guests like Erin, either that I've worked with directly, they've worked with me, you name it. But it's an awesome opportunity to share some of your successes, the great stuff that you're doing, but also highlight a lot of stuff that people probably have some questions or struggles to, that through our conversation and the opportunity for guests to ask questions live, we can get some problem solved, hopefully. So this is a great opportunity to learn. This will be safe for recording later and for reference later, but we got a lot of goodies that we'll get to later in this video. So to keep you sticking around, some stuff that you can share that's highly valuable to everybody, I think, on the call. Whether you're a business owner yourself or you're just in a business or you're a business leader, this can benefit a lot of people. Heck, the topic we're talking about, standard operating procedures, can help you in your everyday life. I don't know if you go that far with it, but it's doable. It's absolutely possible. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Erin Isaacson is a technical writer, and we're working together specifically on standard operating procedures. That's the main thing we're doing. And I'll let you kind of get into here in a minute what you do and why you do it and your story and journey. But essentially, this topic today is about how you can probably eliminate wasteful activities in your everyday business, your life, improve communication, even reduce frustration in relationships with others and yourself, how you go about your day to day. It's a great opportunity to add value, into your life, into your business. And we'll kind of get more into that information here in a little bit. So Erin, if you will, real quick, kind of give everybody insight about your journey, who you are and why you do what you do.
Absolutely. So as Clifton said, I am a technical writer. I specialize in helping businesses developing their policies, procedures, and actually creating the documentation that goes along with it. I help kind of take their technical knowledge and act as a bridge in presenting it in a way that's comprehensible to their team, to audiences, and, whoever they're looking for. But really it's to develop set instructions of, ideally how they would like to run their company to kind of smooth out operations, define who's doing what, and assigning, your different positions and what responsibilities should be holding. I'm based out of Southern California. I was born and raised here. I moved to Utah and, met my husband out there. We've been back for, I think like 11 or 12 years now. So he has not hated, the Southern California life. It's sunny and beautiful out here, but it's been good. And now that I'm focusing on my business right now, and I come from a background of operations and project management, and I'm just excited to be doing what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, this is great. We jive on a lot of levels mentally, especially when it comes to the processes and improvements and everything like that. Just not only from my manufacturing experience, being blessed to have started most of my career in that field with Toyota Production Systems and Kaizen and Lean and all that stuff. Really taught me at a young age the importance of standardizing your processes and then effectively communicating that to others, whether it's to your business, your household, even to yourself, right? Because sometimes good habits are hard to just form, so you got to build it up over time. So sometimes your worst enemy is yourself. So
yeah, no, I definitely know that one.
Awesome. So Erin, if you will, kind of go through briefly real quick why it is what you do. Why do you do what you do? Like your mission, your vision, like why is it that you got strengths and interests, but why is it you're doing right now is what you feel like you're called to do, why you're aligned for that?
So, as mentioned, I have over, 8 years experience running operations. I come from mostly the construction industry. I have a background in real estate. I've even worked in some medical. I've always been that person that, though I've had that steady job, I've always been doing the side hustle. And in operations, I have definitely found all the benefits of standardized operating procedures. The reason I ended up kind of moving towards is, you all have your positions, and I think that I've always just kind of had that dream to become a business owner for myself. And
Yeah.
I think I've been told by multiple people that I have that entrepreneur spirit. Of course, it was always my bosses that were kind of like, you've got that entrepreneur spirit. Let's see how we can hone that in and use it, our own advantage. And, after so many years, it just kind of was eating at me. And
Yeah.
I started developing a love for standardized operating procedures because one, I come from a background, as you kind of mentioned, of kind of standardizing your own thought processes, even in your personal life.
Absolutely.
I have ADD. I was always, on the medicine and everything. But when I was in college, I decided to kind of not take my medication. And with that, I really had to relearn my brain. And because when you're ADD, you're kind of all over the place.
Mhm.
I kind of started systemizing it. So that's just kind of what I fell into and something that I love. And, even without starting my own business, I would always teach people on how to implement it into not only their life, but into their own practices, especially, construction. I had a lot of subs that would their own businesses. So stepping in and providing them, trade. Yeah. You work for trade industry. I know, and, taking all of their technical knowledge and trying to say, like, how can we break this into actually procedures so that more people can understand and so we can kind of follow up. And I don't know, I guess just over the years, I started loving more and more. I have a passion for writing. I've always been a writer. And, when I decided to break away, start with OBM, kind of do some copywriting. And then I kind of married the two. And I'm like, well, why can't I just, help businesses develop what I have the experience in? I love to write. I don't mind writing technical items.
Yep.
And educational pieces. So yeah, I developed Pacific Crest Digital Solutions. We specialize now in doing that. Our mission is to assist businesses in reaching their next level goals by providing the solutions they need to take their technical knowledge and make it comprehensible for their team. Being able to do that and having a defined, this is what's worked for us so far, here is some guidance and a foundation of how we want things to be done.
Right.
It just helps systemize and standardize, and people don't realize that it saves you time, it saves you money. And I don't know, it's just, I talk to so many people and they get so wrapped up in I have standard operating procedures of, how to do it and how to do this and how to do that. And that's when I kind of come in and said, that's really great and a fantastic starting point.
Yeah.
But who, why, when are they doing these items? So that's what I kind of help them in defining, developing, and then they, can turn around and it's always organic and always growing, but provides them the tools that they can build upon to build their own efficiencies.
There you go. Yeah. No, more than just kind of throwing something together. There's like a rhyme to the reason behind everything.
Exactly.
Kind of pull it out of them, right? Because a lot of times business owners, especially when they start out, they have to be creative, right?
Yeah.
But it's all over the place too. And they can't get concerted effort to build something that's going to be standard and like solidified for like years to come that you can build upon without it toppling over. And that's hard to do by yourself, just sitting down by yourself or even with your team. You're trying to lead them and get it out of them. That's where you come in.
And it's the strangest thing, because even for my own business, I, will jot down my notes real quick and then I'll go look at it later. And then I'm just like, when do you find the time? And it's actually hard to write for your own business because you have such a clear picture of how it's supposed to go, but then somehow transferring it over to written documentation, it can be a little bit more difficult. And exactly, that's where I come in. I just provide that bridge of, what's in your mind and, transferring it over to something that makes sense that other people can understand.
There's a lot of value behind having that high level perspective. There's a reason that we aren't employees anymore. And one, because we can help a lot more people at the same time, right? Rather than one company we're working for. But two, you're not kind of stuck in the weeds like everybody else, right? Because you're actually able to look on the outside, come in, bring your expertise, guidance, help them through it, and then step back out to keep that perspective, keep that bridge between you. It makes a world of difference. And so that's why we ourselves need our own coaches and outside help too, so.
Exactly. It just helps bring clarity.
Exactly. So to build on that, to build on how you're helping these companies reach their next level goals, and really kind of getting some, solidifying for them their processes for years to come. So they actually can see a future of hope rather than a destitute future or daunting future, if you will, right? For some that's actually they're afraid to grow because they hear of or know of the headaches that come with that. Because a lot of times people don't have the processes in place. It's tribal knowledge, right? They're just talking it, nothing's written down. They're like, well, I've trained them on it, or whatever, but things need to be updated. Our processes have to be improved over time. I want us to discuss some of the recent or more of the issues, the trends that we see in these industries, that are plaguing companies, that are plaguing business owners. It's what's keeping them up at night. It's what's making them dread going into work or answering their phone. And some of that comes to, like you were saying, their procedures. They started with something, but now it's very outdated. It's got dust on it, or it was not ever fully fleshed out. And there's a lot of other reasons behind that. Can you kind of dive into that real quick from your experience, what you've seen, and maybe correlate that to how you're helping them?
Yeah. I think, as you mentioned, tribal knowledge, that's such a huge one in businesses just in general. And I think that, in particular, the last few years, I think one of the reasons that people have been really receptive to my mission and people, wanting to update their SOPs and really take a look at it is, hi, we just got turned all completely upside down, and all of a sudden all of our operations had to switch.
Very true.
And there was a lot of shuffling, and now dust is starting to settle a little bit, and people are now realizing we're doing things slightly different. So this is the perfect opportunity to go back. I'm a huge believer in everyone that I work with. I always say, listen, SOPs are organic. They are designed to change. This is purely just to document how we're doing it now, what has been efficient, and so that we can standardize things. But you constantly want to be looking on how can we improve it? Now that people are working more remotely, okay, how can we switch and tweak things? We've got a written of how things have been done, so it's a clearer picture of how to move it from there. In particular, with the industry that you and I really work in, with construction, manufacturing, and more of these technical trades. It's all about tribal knowledge. You have these, old school, go out, get it done. I used to work with electricians. They go out and do it. They're brilliant at what they do, but that's it. They're brilliant at what they do. And when it comes to the actual business and the thought of, okay, well, how do I grow? How do I increase my value? How do I, make more money? How do I, do all of these next level items?
Right.
You need to write things down of how you do it so you can pass it off to focus on what the next step is.
And that sounds so simple, right? Just sit down and write it down, right? Like you were saying yourself, you write it down too. So it's so simple, yet so many people struggle with this. Some people even know what a standard operating procedure is, or they know what a process is, right? So what's holding people back from actually implementing on this stuff and working through building that basis for their SOPs and for their processes? Like what's holding them back?
Honestly, the biggest thing that holds most people back is that they're busy actually doing the work, actually making their company run. And yes, I do come in and I provide I do SOPs. I'm always going to be able to provide the input and, where we can do and tweak and, hey, you set this up and, now we need to answer this next question. And, we touch point and we can identify the directions it should go. But I have clients that are very capable of writing their own SOPs. They have very systematic minds. They can do it. It's just, it has been sitting on their desk for 6 months and they just haven't been able to actually sit down and do it. And so it makes more sense to have someone who comes in who knows how to actually read them, talk to them, grab the information, and then develop it for them, because now they can just go into review mode and take the time of, yes, this works out, this works great. Another thing that I do provide is I would come from the world of project management. I did construction project management. I developed milestone Gants. I, have set things, and just having someone to push along the process, I have been told is worth so much. And there's literally just even a simple phone call the other day I made to a client. He's like, thank you so much for calling me. I completely just got lost in the day-to-day.
So you just made a great point, right? Like you said earlier, why did they not get to these simple tasks? It's because they're just too busy, right? And we deal with the same thing. And so Why do they pay for someone like you or someone like me, or, even like in more personal terms, like a fitness coach, at a gym or something like that? Why do people pay to be in groups? Why do people pay for this stuff? They need accountability. They need someone to push them. It's just like you see the value in that, the receptivity behind that, right? Of people that they simply just need accountability. They just need someone to guide them.
Oh yeah. I mean, even, exactly. I mean, you as a coach, you've got a particular project. I need someone to come in and help me as a coach to kind of get me to where the next level is. And you help them define the strategy and help them stay on point for the strategy. It's value in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Erin, you briefly talked about it too. Diving past even just SOPs, in the way you're helping in companies, especially in this technical world, a lot of these companies are big. They got a lot of people. There's a lot of moving parts, right? So what are some of the other areas that you help them in outside of just like a process for their operations? What other types of documents or services do you provide that possibly could help these companies navigate their growth, their just productivity, their output? Like what do you do? What else do you do?
Yeah, so on the other side of things, we do also help assist companies in developing their policies. As you are expanding and you have employees, I'm based out of California, so I'm, more familiar with a lot of the California laws. Which let me trust me when I say it. Probably our California laws cover a lot of the nation.
Uh-huh.
People are strict, and
Yeah.
especially when it comes to construction, you have OSIP, you have prevailing wages, you have safety documentation that is required
Yeah.
just for you to be on the job site. That's another thing we can assist with. We can help you develop and actually create, a basic, employee manual that can reach up to here. And then let's say you have particular policies that you want to have added. A popular one nowadays is, work from home policies. You
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to standardize what your expectations are on
Oh
that.
yeah.
Another service we do offer is kind of the back end. I'm a huge opponent of, and believer that you should be able to take your internal voice and make sure that it is standardized to your external audience as well.
Yeah.
So we do help a lot of companies that especially are a little bit more technical minded, develop educational pieces that they can reuse as content as well. We are familiar with SEO, and we can help you kind of relay your information so that you can spread your vision and your missions out to the rest of the world as well.
Kind of like a translator, right? Going from that technical knowledge to more like, oh, this is like digestible and bite size. You're not just opening a fire hydrant on me.
You've talked a lot about, the secret sauce of your own little business and who you are. That's one thing my friends always laugh. They're just like, how are you able to take the mess that's going on in my mind and make it so clear? And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
It's just how my brain works. And I think it's because I've always had to translate my own complicated brain into something comprehensible, for the world.
A lot of talking to yourself.
Yes,
In a good way, in a
lot of
healthy
talking
way.
to myself.
Oh man. So Erin, kind of diving deeper on these other services you provide, and actually talking about some stories that we've heard in the news over the past couple of years. Yeah, biggest thing was COVID, right? And then shifting to remote work. A lot of people leaving their companies to go find better opportunities and stuff like that. Out of that, what are some of the topics that you feel like are most prevalent right now that companies are struggling with that you've touched on and want to share a little bit more on this live talk?
I think, especially when it comes to, I think especially like emergency procedures and developing flexible standard policies,
Mm-hmm.
that's just been a huge pain point for a lot of a lot of my clients. Another thing that, in California, I think it was a year or two ago, they just changed the law. So it's actually harder to develop a virtual team, 1099 employees. If
Okay.
they don't have enough business coming in, then you have to switch them over to a W-2. And I have a lot of people reaching out to me that are struggling in developing those manuals that will have them be compliant with these new laws.
Wow.
So that's one thing that has been a major focus that I've been helping actually a couple different people with, is just making sure that they have everything that they need in place so that they can start the transition into bringing on W-2 employees. plus they're in an interesting situation because they are taking a virtual team and they're making it a W-2. So, we just kind of talk it out. We see how things want to look. We develop the policies and, take on what's required from the state and, what they want to do and how they envision it. And we develop it into manuals that they can easily just pass on and have a full outline of what they want, and how they want things to look and, just guidelines for their team so that they can be more efficient and effective with, their own growth.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's huge. And honestly, I mean, I think, yeah, like you were saying earlier, California, if anything, is like the leader of, the highest of standards in everything really. And while a lot of people may, they all have their opinions about that, I think it's something that we have to still take note of, right? Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that we don't know when someday some of those laws or other things will come over inherited in other countries, states, other, cities and things like that. So that's really important to just be privy to that information as well. So that's huge that you provide those services though. What else? What are some other things that you've seen that have kind of thrown companies for a loop? I know we even talked briefly about, Ukraine and working with a client that was dealing with getting people, their employees out of the country essentially, but having it still, the bills are still coming in, you still got to pay payroll and all this other stuff. So work can't really stop. But so like dealing with those transitions, more, emergencies and changing up pretty much the life as we know it, if you will, in business. What insight do you have on that?
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of really goes back to just the standardized operating procedures and how important they are. Yes, they are organic. Yes, they, will constantly be changing and you want to be taking a look at efficiencies. But if they're not there, that's even more scary because, like I mentioned, and, I've talked previously, I had a client that, they have a team of designers that were based in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
They couldn't get a hold of them. And what it was even more devastating is that they didn't know how to do what they did. So they were scrambling. They were trying to find, okay, well, what do we do? Where do we need to find this information? How is this happening? And it was a whole emergency fire, and they basically had to reinvent the wheel on how to do things that they've been doing for years. And that's more time than anybody wants to be spending on that, especially when it comes to software development.
Yeah.
That's not something, I mean, that takes years to develop. And if they didn't write it down, and you see these companies that, have life happens. You don't know what it's going to throw at you. The one thing that you can always depend on is that it's going to change.
Yeah.
So that is really where laying the foundation and writing down what is being done, how you're supposed to be doing it, who is handling it, and just how the business is supposed to be running can save you so much headache when those unexpected situations arise.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Things are always going to change. So we have to get comfortable with that, right? Not fear that. It's not a matter of operating out of a place of scarcity or fear. It's more of abundance and knowledge. That we have knowledge and the power behind leaning on people like you and others that are strong in the areas of preparedness, right? And for a lot of people, preparedness, why do I need to prepare, right? For something that's not, I don't know what's coming down the road. And it's like, yeah, but a lot of this stuff, like you said, at some point or another, it's going to affect us. It's going to affect somebody, especially if we have huge aspirations and we want to grow. We want to employ, hundreds, maybe even thousands of employees, and serve many more clients, over the span of the company's lifetime. That's important to have those things in place so it doesn't just crumble in an instant. I mean, literally.
Yeah, and that comes down to developing kind of more along the lines of like emergency procedures. As you said, we don't know what the world is gonna throw at us. Now all of a sudden companies are now developing procedures and policies on what if a pandemic hits, and
right,
it's all these things, and
Something
trying to do your best and creating for what potentially could happen and developing a system and a procedure of what to do if it does happen. It will save you so much time, so much energy, and so much headache.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so we've got some other great topics I want to cover. I want to go ahead and integrate one of the questions we got from somebody. They asked a question ahead of time. And this kind of correlates to somewhat of what we're talking about right now. And this is a question from Katie, and she actually asked the question, how do you respond to this objection? Which is, the objection is implementing SOPs will actually reduce a company's flexibility and take it from having the ability to be nimble and react quickly in response to fast-paced opportunities.
Yeah, I love questions like that.
Yeah, so that was a great one. So I want to kind of
Yeah.
dive into that, because that's kind of talking about, what we're dealing with here. And that's like almost like the what if, like we're talking about all this great stuff, but what if, what happens, a good problem have, or just hearsay. So what do you have to say about that, Erin?
And I think that I definitely get it. And
yeah,
when you come to these businesses that hold these standard operating procedures as that this is the last word, this is law, this is how we do things, I think that it's actually at a disadvantage. Anyone I work with, I try to very clearly implement that SOPs are designed to be organic. You should use them organically.
Sure.
If you are in a moment and you want to hire flexible or nimble-minded teams, you want to have a team that is going to look at your SOP, and if in the situation there's a better way to do it, they're going to do it, analyze it, and decide if it needs to change. This is how businesses grow. This is how your operations are going to be continually supporting you. The standard operating procedures are not meant to be the final word. They are just the base. They are the foundation of how your company has worked in the past, what has been successful, and the guidelines for how you train. Yeah. But again, always encourage people to change it, break the wheel, break the system. That's how you grow. That's how you reach those next level, is constantly questioning and continuing and moving. And fight the powers. but really, I mean, this is, it's always good to, when you see something that there's a more efficient way, bring it into the conversation, approach your business owner, approach your manager, approach yourself, say, hey, this has been how I've been doing things for a long time, but I see that there's a better way. Let me review it. Let me see what's not working anymore. What needs to change? Look at your SOPs every year and take a look, and as you're doing it, say, hey, I think that I'm doing things a little differently. And then just take a little note. It doesn't have to be anything pretty, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just as you're doing it, hey, this is how I'm doing it now. This has been working out really well. And then implement it, and you change your standardized operating procedure, and, see how it goes moving forward for the larger team that you have now.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. So I've had conversations in the past when I've presented or educated, clients on SOPs and processes and standardization and all that stuff, Lean Six Sigma and everything. And they're like, like this was like a more family-owned business, right? Yeah. Small mom and pop. And they're like, that sounds a little corporate for us, and usually that's a derogatory term. And it's like, okay, right. At first, you're just going off of their assumptions. And so you try and educate them, and it doesn't happen overnight. I don't think anyone out there that tries to implement these new ways of doing business, these new mindset shifts, right? It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. If it did, a lot of us would be a lot more successful overnight, if you will. And probably outgrow ourselves very quickly, but there's a reason it takes time. So let me ask you this, because this has been a question that's come up in the past before with people that are starting to grow. Okay, they're growing and they're adding on staffing, W-2s pretty much. They're going to have employees, right? They love the idea of SOPs. They love the idea of processes. They love the idea of getting their secret sauce, their standard on paper. Their concern is, well, what if people don't follow it? Does it mean it's broken? Like, is it the SOP's fault? Is it the people's fault? Is it the leader's fault? Like, can you just briefly kind of explain, like, in navigating that, pushback or doubt from someone when working with them on building those SOPs in the first place?
Yeah. And I think that at that point, if you realize that your team is not really following the operating procedures that you've put in place, then it's absolutely time to dive in and, meet with your team. Hey, so we've got the standardized operating procedure in place. Did you find a better way of handling it? Let's revisit. Let's see, how are you doing things right now? Let's dive in and see what needs to be changed in the SOP. And, it becomes a team communication. And I think it's important for business owners to really have that sort of openness with their team of please come talk to me, because as you said, mindset shifts and growth, it is not an overnight thing. It is constant practice. And, one of the biggest things is consistency. And if you are consistently asking your team for involvement, improvements, suggestions, they're going to feel like a real part of the team, and they're going to have more, you're going to have more retention, you're going to have more involvement, and you're going to have more growth, because you have all of these other inputs and other thoughts and other values coming into you that you can process and sit on and think and really, look at it from a bigger picture and take all this knowledge and information and figure out what the right next step for you is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like true collaboration and ownership as a team, building it up together, which is super important. And I think, I believe, especially for many reasons over the past couple of years, we've seen such a huge shift in people's mindsets on where they fit in or do not fit in at a particular company. And that's why a lot of people, one, have learned that they have the freedom to choose. And so a lot of people have been choosing over the past year, especially, that there's probably better opportunities out there for them. And a lot of times it's because, just like you're, alluding to, is they have, freedom of their voice to speak up and to say, hey, things aren't right. Whether it's how people communicate, whether it's how they get things done, from a ethical standpoint, a personal standpoint within the business or outside, the business. I've seen a lot of people kind of make those decisions. Hey, this isn't right. I want to look for a better opportunity. We see that now, though, too. While there may be some out there that still grumble that, from an owner's perspective, it's not their fault. We do see there's a lot of business owners taking eye to, at least if anything, the standards of an employer is much higher now. The expectations of what they're looking for in a boss, in a business that they work for, and their leaders departmentally, is much higher now. So talking to a business owner specifically, and someone that is aware of, we see the landscape right now out there for employment, for staffing, and one of their concerns is, how am I going to keep my people? It's almost like the roles have reversed now. It's like, which essentially is the truth, is it's more of a service leadership mindset, right? The owners are supposed to serve their employees and pour into them and guide them and train them, not just point and you do and micromanage, right? So someone that has that wherewithal and is beginning to understand, hey, we've got to really shift things here and how we do things in this company. How do you bridge that conversation? Where do you start with them to kind of calm themselves on, hey, this is possible, it's doable, it's not going to happen overnight, but fear not, we can actually improve on this problem. So how would you talk to a business owner about changing how they do business and how they lead other people, their employees?
Well, I think that the first thing is defining first what they're comfortable with. You need to decide, okay, listen, there is a shift. Employees are looking for more hybrid schedules. They're looking for remote opportunities. It's proven, and there are multiple studies out there that are showing that employees are happier when they have that flexibility. So we define what are you comfortable with? If they're extremely strict, then we start, okay, well, what would you be comfortable with? Let's say if we develop something like this, what if we develop something like this? And we present a couple of different options, kind of easing them into the idea of, what if you do, half day in the office, half day at work, or some days in the office, some days at home, and,
right.
Those type of items, or, all of that. Another thing I always ask my business owners is, have you talked to your team about what their pain points are? I approach business owners when I'm looking, to develop a relationship and to develop, ongoing services. My biggest question is, what are your pain points right now? Like, what do you need help with? What can I assist with? Is it developing work from home policies? Is it developed that you need to revamp your SOPs? Why can't you? I think that as business owners, you should be able to turn around to your employees, sit down in a meeting and just have listen, what are your pain points right now?
Yeah.
What can I do to make your life better? What are you going through? And, I know that there's not many, not many, But there are business owners who are going to fight that. Unfortunately, there are also the business owners that are struggling keeping employees right now.
Yep.
Like I said, having a flexible and nimble mind, just as you would like your team to have that. I'm a huge believer that you as a business owner really need to get in that mindset as well. Is how can I adapt? How can I pivot? How can I, what changes do I need to make, not only in my business, but even in my, in myself, that is going to allow a more, a more appealing work environment so that people actually want to stay.
Well, yeah, no, you made a great point. It's even when you talked originally about project management, right? When we started a project, who's one of the first people we involve in building the project in the first place? It's the stakeholders. It's the one that's going to receive the product or service at the end of the day. We want their input, right? It's just like for any business owner, whether you have a product or a service, you need input of your target audience. Hey, is this what you want, right? Because if you're building something, you spend all this time and all these resources on building something that's not going to align with them, you failed them and you failed yourself essentially, because you never had that conversation. And you brought up a great point, that sit down and have those conversations with them, ask them what their pain points are. I think I rarely, in all companies I work for and the clients I work with, that is not a normal thing. We don't, almost like, because you're like opening a can of worms, right? It's almost the fear factor is, well, I don't even want to ask because I'm afraid of what they're going to say, because there's a problem. But you bring up a great point, is just to start simple. Just sit down and have a conversation. Start listing what are those pain points. Just like when I'm working with a business owner and a management team, right? I'm asking what are their pain points before we get started, because there's a million fires to put out, but we can only put out but so many fires right now with the time we have given to us. And so having that conversation is huge.
When I was first starting in operations, because I'm always someone, like I said, I've got that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm always kind of a go-getter, and I started my career as just a receptionist, kind of worked my way up. My first job in real estate ended up, overseeing all the property management, receiverships, REOs, and those type of items. Then, kind of started my move over. I was managing commercial buildings, and then I switched over to construction. I had an opportunity, and I'm like, you know what? Something new, I'll do it. So started as project manager, bookkeeper, and then I went after the operations. But with that, I kind of saw the value of, okay, I need to learn more, of how operations work. So I really took some time to really develop my skill set in regards to operations. And that's really where I developed my, passion for, SOPs. And I know that's such a weird thing to have a passion about, but I love organizing. It's so weird.
We'll try and get them to drink the Kool-Aid eventually. Don't worry.
Right. So, but I went to this one coach, and it was, just an afternoon seminar, but he had something that has resonated with me over the years where, as a business owner, you start where you're, developing these clients, you're developing, you're bringing on clients, and then you move into more of a management, you develop a team, you're highly involved, but eventually you reach a point where you're at the top level. Your clients are no longer your clients. Your employees are your clients. They're the ones that are going to be making you your money. They're the ones that are going to be making sure that your business is profitable and that you're receiving your income and your profit sharing. You have to take care of your employees to continually be increasing your growth, your value, your profitability. If you are not doing that, you have missed a major growth, level. You want to be looking at your employees as your clients. You want to be making them happy, because in turn, they're going to be making you happy.
Yeah, the lack of nurturing is now stunting the growth, which could eventually cause it to go backwards.
I have seen many companies like that. And, there's a reason I work for myself now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and in some form or fashion too, is the strongest companies survive what we've seen in the past couple of decades with just the economy and the expanding contraction of that, and how it's affected businesses, especially in the construction world, manufacturing as well. A lot of the companies, manufacturing really got hit just because of COVID, because of all the massive shutdowns in like Europe and Asia and stuff like that. And so that was definitely one of the big struggles that I've seen from a lot of companies, is how are we going to survive another whatever, right? Another pandemic. Now we've got inflation. Like, it's just, it's always going to be something, right? We don't know exactly what it is at first. We don't know how it's truly going to affect things, how long it's going to go for. But that's why a lot of reasons for business owners, especially, become so open to coaching, if you will, but essentially someone coming in, an advisor that is going to give them the tools and the trainings they need to really create some semblance of a foundation, so
Yeah.
they can grow and shrink as needed, but it's controlled, right? It's not them being reactive, it's being proactive, right?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people get into this mindset of it's me against the world. It's me, it's me, it's me. I'm the
Yeah.
only one who can make these right decisions. And they just get into such a micro control mindset that they fail to see that if you just take a step back, realize you're not alone, that there are actually people out there who really do want to help you and have value and input, whether it be a coach, whether it be having a team meeting, whether it be outsourcing and say, you know what, I need someone to just kind of pick my brain and write something for me. There are services and there's opportunities. And I think that's one of the really cool things about this time that we're in right now is that there are so many alternatives and options out there for, business or even people who just want to improve themselves and reach those next level goals and set, a vision and a strategy on how to reach there. There's so many opportunities now that just haven't been there in the past. So I don't know. I'm kind of happy with where, life is right now, and kind of, I don't know. I like the change and the shift and everything, but I accept change and I embrace
continually
it.
Improving. It's okay. Continually improving. It's just the whole mindset thing. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
The
A lot of
perspective.
mindset work.
Yeah. It's just the perspective.
Change your perspective. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I completely agree. With, all the time that we see new obstacles or new struggles in life. I mean, it's the greatest thing about being a human being. We become innovative, we become creative, we find solutions to problems, right?
Yeah.
It's great to see more of the population though seeking out that personal development, that personal growth, and seeing it more, like you said, in the corporate world, in business, especially the owners at the top. I think that's also with the age shift too, generationally, which is great to see too. The younger people coming in and taking over the higher levels in business, that they've earned it rightfully so with their work ethic and their abilities. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the preparedness, and having that perspective, in an optimistic way, more so.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that business owners should be scared of when, the next generation is coming up to take over. This is an opportunity to really, have your SOPs and your foundation in place so that you can step away and just check in. I don't know about other business owners, but most of the ones I've met, myself included, my big picture goal is to have, something that I can really look and dive in and focus on the big picture goals and have a team that will be able to handle the day-to-day operations to allow me the time to do that. And when you've reached a point where you're ready to fully step away and hand over the reins, that's the goal right there, right? That's retirement plan.
Retirement plan, exactly. The ones that are in the right mindset get excited about that, right? To hand off the reins, because now they get to see more vacation time. They get to see more time with their nieces and nephews, grandchildren and all that kind of stuff. So much more opportunity, right? The freedom, right? Why would we go in business for ourselves? The freedom to choose, the freedom to put our time and our energy, where we want. Obviously usually benefit other people. We're usually serving other people. But then we get to find time to serve our families, our friends, our communities and stuff like that too. That's so huge. And so it's eye-opening once I see that.
Yeah. And even when you're not at the retirement age, even for me, another reason, there was many, many reasons that I decided to go in business for myself. A huge one was my family. My daughter is 4 years old. Maybe we do want to have another kid. Maybe we don't. I don't,
Right.
I don't know yet, but this at least offers me the opportunity to make those decisions. And if I set the right processes in place, then if I do have another baby, I'm going to be able to have a maternity leave and have the operations there so that I can just check in. This is my goal. This is what I need to develop. If I have this goal of I want to have another baby and do a maternity leave for myself, I need something now I can hand my team of this is my standards, this is what I want, this is how I've been doing things. I appreciate your input. I'm just giving you the guidelines of what I've been doing so that you guys can help me out, take a little bit more control so that I have time to focus on what I need to focus on right now.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love it. same, right? I've got a 2-year-old
Exactly.
boy.
Exactly. Having your own freedom, I'm sure, has been nothing but beneficial and, blessed. And I think that that is a huge reason why this whole revolution is happening, is that people are changing their priorities. And as a business owner, you need to recognize that. And if you're really serious about reading the team, you need to be looking at this as not a, bad thing. Look at it as an opportunity to learn, grow,
Right.
and create a business that you can be proud of and people are happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. And to kind of to wrap up that note, Erin, I want to briefly tease to everybody an opportunity that you provided everyone, a free giveaway, essentially, a free guide and template for people to create their own processes, their SOPs. And so anybody that is looking for guidance on what you've talked about, to kind of get the snapshot and decide how you start working on these processes and improving your operations and kind of capturing that future, that freedom for yourself and that freedom to choose, is through this guide and template for creating SOPs and understanding them better. And so anybody that's interested in that, you just have to email Erin, and that's hello@pacificcrestdigital.com. And of course, we'll post more of that later too, again, in the follow-ups. But yeah, it's a free guide and template for SOPs, right? You want to briefly explain that? And then I want to get in, because we're running out of time, I want to get into bragging about you a little bit, talking about some of your recent success stories. And then we'll pretty much wrap things up. But yes, I mean, this has been so valuable. Just for me to have this conversation with you. I love talking to you about this stuff, and I love seeing other people win in life and helping other people win as well. And so that's just appreciate you having the opportunity to offer something free for people to kind of get a taste of what you've got going on. So briefly explain that, and then we'll jump into your success stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to laugh because I really have been having fun. I look down like, oh my gosh, it's already been 50 minutes. I love having the opportunity to kind of like nerd out, because I know you're like me, and we're just kind of weird. We like those operations and systems and everything, and people struggle with that. So I appreciate the time. But yeah, so the free offer is just going to be a quick little guide. It's just creating efficient and effective SOPs. As mentioned earlier, a lot of businesses get stuck in creating these SOPs on how to, for example, you need to create an invoicing QuickBooks. People create how exactly to do it, write all the steps, maybe throw in some screenshots, which is great. And it is amazing and it's fantastic and it's a wonderful start. But if you're looking to actually take the time as a business owner to step away and focus on those bigger, the bigger picture items, then you need to be able to define and more clearly develop a operating procedure that's going to say, okay, this is when this gets implemented. This is who's going to be doing it. Yeah. This is the why we're doing it. And then you dive into the how. So my guide is just kind of a quick little reminder of that and how to actually do that. And then I provided a template of what exactly that's going to look like. You can go ahead and use the template. I would love that. It is a short form template. If you do want to go more into like really developing a manual that's going to flow into everything and have really sections, like this is everything for sales and marketing, this is everything for bookkeeping, this is operations, those type of items, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk to you, and we can kind of discuss, what the next steps would be to go more down that route. Yep. But this is at least just a quick something that you guys have. So when you have your little jotted notes, you have something to throw it into.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. It's a great insight, great visual, just to kind of connect the dots of what you've explained today. And so, yeah, people can get in touch with you. Just hello@pacificcrestdigital.com. Right. Yep. Yeah. And what's your website again?
It's pacificcrestdigital.com.
There you go. So that'd be the best ways to get in touch with Erin, to get that information, and then of course to get more guidance and help. If you're really in need of that stuff right now, is a perfect time to get in touch with her. So awesome. Well, Erin, let's jump in real quick. I want to brag a little bit about what you've got going on, some projects you're working on, some successes you have going on. So please share.
Yeah, we've been pretty busy. We're in the middle of a big project right now where we're redoing an entire SOP manual for a large general contractor who's been in business. They're big in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
And that's been super fun. Again, fun, but I love helping businesses, and it helps them clearly define of what has been and what they're doing.
Yeah.
I have a couple of medical clients that were just defining cleaning up their policies. And that's been really great for me because I love diving in and learning new things. And as I learn and I dive, then, I create new templates and
More
new,
value.
jokes, more value to help other people going forward.
Awesome.
I've been so thankful and I'm so grateful. I've been able to make connections. Someone has been a wonderful connection, and I'm just continually meeting people and seeing how I can help them and provide, assistance on their journey, how they can help me, and etc. And all of that. I guess most recently, I focused on my business. I left my position to really focus on this kind of at the end of September, middle September or so. And though I've been, in business for myself, it's always been kind of on the side for the last 2 years or so.
Absolutely.
And since then, we're now LLC. We have a small team, and we've just kind of been taking off, and everybody's been really receptive to what we do, and it's been amazing. It's my husband actually got laid off at the beginning of the year, so it's been really cool to have my business and really just have this focus and really help us out right now. So, but it's been great, and it's been an amazing journey. And I just say that it's been amazing after having our own struggles in life. But again, it's having the mindset work and being able to look at it as, okay, well, this is the way that the universe and everything is pushing in our direction, and how are we going to fly with it, going with it, and just getting excited about it. And I don't know, it's been really good, and we've had a lot of successes. We have our ups and downs, as any entrepreneur does and any business does, but I love helping people and being able to do that, and really being able to do that is just as full time, and seeing the benefits that it has. It's been really great, and it's been really fun. I'm really excited to continue to grow and seeing where everything is going to end up.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It was a great opportunity for us to connect. Not too long ago. I can't remember. I guess it was the last year. It was still last year, actually, when we first connected. I'll have to look at my calendar, but pretty much it's just it's great to meet people like you and to connect with people that have similar passions, similar mindsets in the areas that you thrive in, right? But you also want to get stronger in and improve, and you're constantly learning, just even with the practices of clients that you can translate to others, not necessarily exactly the same, but you're learning new stuff all the time. You're always trying to improve how you serve others, and I love that. That's what I love to see with anybody trying to serve other people and make the most of the blessing they have with their business. And so it's great to connect with people like you and get a chance to kind of shine some light on some dark situations for people that are struggling with some issues in their businesses or their lives right now, that might find a glimmer of hope from you and from what you do and how you do things. So I love that we get the chance to share that stuff, Erin. And of course, like I said, if anybody wants to contact you, hello@pacificcrestdigital.com. And then of course your website is pacificcrestdigital.com. And I put that in the chat obviously too. And so that is a great place for people to get a hold of you and to ask for your free guide and template for SOPs. So to wrap things up though, Erin, can you give us one simple takeaway from our conversation that we've had today, from the people that might be listening in, address one of their major pain points and why SOPs are so important to you? What would that be?
I guess don't fear the SOP. Don't be afraid to take some time to really develop it, because it's more important than people give it credit for. I think that, and it doesn't even have to, we come in and we can help refine, and it doesn't have to be as daunting or as intimidating as you think it is.
Right.
Even just writing down quick notes is a wonderful place to start. There is no bad place to start.
No.
And don't be embarrassed or scared to, ask for help or, present and talk to your team, and be flexible. I just don't be afraid to write how you want things to go. I know that the question of people will get stuck in it. That's not the way it's designed to be.
Right.
Operating procedures are designed to change. They are designed to grow with you in your business. They just offer a foundation and something to fall back on when an employee quits, when life happens and everyone has to get sent home for months at a time.
Mhm.
They are going to be a written instruction and guide to how your business has been operating. And it is purely there for you to constantly be looking at and changing. Let your operating procedures grow as you yourself as a business owner
Yep.
grow too.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, no, super great insight from you. And I think I definitely believe just from our conversations we've had and on this show as well is you have a way of being able to present things in pretty easy, digestible manner. And that's huge when someone's trying to get into something that is, the SOPs, they should not be, they're simple, but super effective, right?
Yeah.
But if people don't understand, they still kind of go into it. It can be very daunting for them at first. And so I believe one, the guide and template you put together, I looked at it myself, is a super simple way to clearly explain what they're getting into, right? And then I just highly encourage everyone at least to have that first conversation with you. Quick 15-minute call to kind of walk through the guide, even just to simply explain it so they can take off and run with it and make something happen with it. Like I said, you can use it in business or even life. If there's something you're struggling with, maybe at home, the husband's not doing the dishes, like whatever you got to come up with. Kids aren't putting their laundry away. There's different processes you can come up with, something you can put together to help and just improve the peace of mind of just going about everyday life, improve communication, and just make the most of the life we've been given, and just hopefully help someone else out in the same time.
Exactly. Simplicity is one of our core values. We try our best to make it as simple as possible.
There you go. Keep it simple.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Erin, thank you so much. Really greatly appreciate you taking the time to get on this call with us, getting up early over there on the West Coast to jump on the Zoom, even though it's after breakfast, but still early to get the day going.
I've been up for a while, but the pleasure is all mine. Like I said, I love our conversation, and so I'm glad that we were able to share it with a bigger audience this time.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And then be more to come. So once again, thank you so much, Erin. You guys want the free guide and template from her? It's hello@pacificcrestdigital.com. And of course, we can reach out straight from her website. And we'll have more to come. So thank you so much, Erin. Thank you guys for watching.
Have a great rest of your day.
All righty. Bye.